Ugh, Mondays. The day that brings our weekends to an end. No one truly loves Mondays, right? But no one dislikes Mondays more than Brenda and Spencer. Hey, friends. You're listening to Cold-Blooded Serial, a true crime podcast, and I am your host, your true crime bestie, Tika. If you're new here, welcome. And if you've been rocking with me for a while now, I'm glad you're back. One Monday morning in 1979, a 16-year-old Brenda Spencer said that she had enough of Mondays and went on a shooting spree in San Diego, California. This is the story. Brenda Spencer was born on April 3rd, 1962 in San Diego, California. She grew up relatively poor and spent most of her early life with her father, Wallace Spencer, with whom she had a turbulent relationship. She says that he was just abusive and that her mom just wasn't in the picture. On the morning of Monday, January 29th, 1979, 16-year-old Brenda woke up on the single mattress she shared with her father in the living room of their squalid suburban California home. First of all, it's weird for a 16-year-old to be sharing a bed with her dad. Like the dad couldn't sleep on the couch or a sleeping bag, another room. It's really weird for him to be sleeping in the same bed as his 16-year-old daughter. So Brenda says that on this morning, she started her day by taking her epilepsy medicine and washing it down with whiskey. That's a way to start your day, breakfast for champions right there, right? The petite redhead teenager who stood at 5 feet 2 and weighed only 89 pounds armed herself with the .22 rifle that her father, Wallace, had given her for Christmas. And Brenda started firing shots from a window. You're probably thinking she's aiming at glass bottles or trees, maybe even an animal. I know that's sad, but maybe even an animal, right? Because, where else are you shooting on a Monday morning in the suburb of California? Well, at around 8:30 a.m., she watched the children as they waited for their principal to open the school gates at Grover Cleveland Elementary School, which was about 50 yards from her house. Once the children lined up, Brenda took out her .22 semi-automatic rifle, aimed it out the window, and began firing at them. The principal of the school, Burton Ragg, was killed during the attack, along with Michael Sukar, a custodian who attempted to pull students to safety. A responding police officer was also wounded. However, it's a miracle that none of the children were killed, although 8 of them between the ages of 7 and 10 were injured. And I'm pretty sure all of the kids were traumatized. Don't forget about the mental health. Although back then, mental health wasn't something that was spoke about. People were just like, hey, get over it. For 20 minutes, yes, oh my God, friends, for 20 minutes, Brenda and Spencer continued to fire about 30 rounds into the crowd. She then put the rifle down, barricaded herself inside her home, and waited. Once the police arrived on the scene, they quickly realized that the shots came from Brenda Spencer's house. The cops sent negotiators to speak with her, but she refused to cooperate with them. She told authorities that she was still armed and threatened to come out shooting if she was forced to leave. Friends, what is her problem? Did the mixture of the epilepsy medicine and the whiskey, mess up her brain? Because why are you doing this, right? Or did she begin planning this when she received the gun for Christmas? I don't know, but we'll see, okay? The standoff between her barricading herself in her house and the police and the negotiator outside trying to get her to come out lasted over 6 hours. And during this time, she gave her infamous phone interview with the San Diego Union Tribune, where she said, "I don't like Mondays. This livens up the day." What? Oh my God. Like, girl, you sound psychotic. So, eventually, Brenda Spencer surrenders herself peacefully. And one negotiator remembers promising her a Burger King Whopper before she finally came outside. Not gonna lie, like, Whoppers back in the day used to be delicious. So, after investigating, the detectives learned that Brenda Spencer had shot at the school 1 year earlier with a BB gun. She didn't hurt anyone, she only damaged a few windows. She was arrested for that crime as well as burglary, but ultimately received probation. A few months after the BB gun incident, her probation officer suggested that she spend some time in a mental hospital for depression. But Brenda's dad, Wallace Spencer, was like, "No, there's nothing wrong with my daughter. I'll handle my daughter and her mental health issues myself. Like, we don't need her going to a shrink or going to a mental hospital and then, people are looking at her like, what's wrong with my daughter?" So, how did he handle her mental health issues? By purchasing the .22 rifle for his daughter, the same rifle that she would months later use to target the elementary school. She tells the reporters, "I asked my dad for a radio, and he bought me a gun. I felt like he wanted me to kill myself." Yeah, friends, honestly, he should have been charged too. Because one, you didn't get her the mental help that she needed. And two, you purchased a weapon for her, knowing that she had mental health issues. So yeah, you should be held accountable for her actions as well. Brenda's attorneys considered pursuing an insanity plea, but it never came to fruition. And although Brenda Spencer was only 16 years old at the time, she was tried as an adult due to the severity of her crimes. Brenda pleaded guilty to 2 counts of murder on April 4th, 1980, a day after her 18th birthday. The 9 counts of attempted murder were dismissed from the case, and Brenda was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison. Her attorneys continued to argue that the treatment she received from her father, which allegedly included sexual abuse, which, yeah, that's kind of where I was hinting when I found out that they slept in the same bed. It's weird. And they said that that was the reason for her act of senseless violence. They never looked into her sexual abuse claims. I think they just thought that she was making this up for a lighter sentence. But disturbingly, Wallace Spencer later married one of his daughter's 17-year-old cellmates who had a striking resemblance to her. And even with this coincidence, it never swayed the parole board. First of all, she was 17. Secondly, she looks just like your daughter. Yeah, guy, like, you deserve to be behind bars for sure. You're a friggin' predator. To this day, Brenda Ann Spencer remains locked up in prison at the California Institution for Women in Corona, California. In one interview, she admitted that her actions may have indeed led to other similar attacks. In 2001, she told the parole board, "With every school shooting, I feel I'm partially responsible. What if they got the idea from what I did?" Yeah, I thought about that too, because in U.S. history, she is the first school shooter. Brenda Ann Spencer was denied parole in 1993, 2001, 2005, 2009, 2022, and then again on February 21st, 2025, at the age of 62, nearly 5 decades after the shooting occurred. The parole board commissioners denied her parole because she continues to minimize the shooting and her motivations to carry the shooting out. Commissioner Teal Kozel said, "This denial gives the board no pleasure, especially after all these years, and it is clear there are limitations when it comes to your mental and physical health." During the 4-hour hearing, the parole board asked her about the shooting and what she has done since to try and rehabilitate herself and make amends to the victims and the families of those who died. Brenda Spencer struggled to remember what made her carry out the mass shooting, and she had difficulty sharing why she did it or how she felt about it. She did say, "It was a lot of physical and sexual abuse from my father. I dealt with it by self-medicating with drugs and alcohol." She said she wanted to die that day. She wanted the police to shoot her, and she believed the quickest way for that to happen was to start shooting kids. And, I don't really believe that because of how long it took her to come out and the fact that she barricaded herself inside the house. I feel like if she really wanted to die, if she really wanted the police to shoot her, she would have acted more erratic after shooting at the school. Brenda shared her feelings when she watched the adults come to rescue the kids. She said, "It was sad. They had what I wanted. They had parents that cared about them." Survivor Crystal Hardy said, "She deserves to be in prison. She shot children, a police officer, and adults trying to help. I have images of those bodies in the bushes, and they never leave me. Nothing can fix that. There is solace in knowing she is in prison." Victim Cam Miller, who was just 9 years old when a bullet from her .22 caliber rifle ripped through his back and out of his chest, also addressed the parole board. "The memory of being shot 1 inch from my heart is always on my mind. When I hear Spencer is up for parole, I wonder why she thinks she should be released. Spencer decided to hunt for humans because she was bored. The lasting tragedy plays in my mind every day." In the end, commissioners said that the 62-year-old Brenda Spencer needs to continue working on herself. She will be eligible for parole again in 2028. A memorial currently stands at San Diego Unified School District's central office on 4100 Normal Street in honor of the 2 staff members who were killed in the shooting. And friends, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of Cold-Blooded Serial. If you enjoyed this case, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share with a friend. Stay safe. Until next time, bye.